Mac here, and welcome to my review of the Battlefield 1 beta. Since the beta is actually running out today on Thursday, I thought I'd give my thoughts on the game and what I liked and didn't like about it. Going into the beta, I had pretty high expectations of the game. I played about 25 hours in total of Battlefield 1, and I really enjoyed it in general. I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of what I liked and didn't like in general, and sort of go into a very quick review. I'll probably do a full review of the full Battlefield 1 game when it actually releases. But this review is taking place on the Thursday after the final day patch. There was a patch last night to fix a few problems, and that actually did fix quite a few problems in the game. So I'll start off with the pros then. The game is extremely addictive and kills are very satisfying to do. It's just a very addictive game in general. I played 25 hours in total over maybe 5 or 6 days, which was actually quite good. I was often doing maybe 3 or 4 hour sessions with friends, and it's just an extremely satisfying game to play. I played with every class in the beta. I think I enjoyed the scout class the most because it's just the most satisfying feeling, getting a kill at 200 meters, getting a headshot at 200 meters from far away. Obviously the distances in this game are quite, well, they're not as long as Battlefield 4. Now, I think Battlefield 4 maybe the average would be like a 400, 500 meter headshot. In this, it's more like 200, 250 meters at most, because the ranges in the Battlefield are just a bit shorter. You're not going to have as long a line of sight as you would in Battlefield 4. The graphics of the game are also pretty incredible. I'm going to be comparing this game a lot to Star Wars Battlefront because in a few ways it feels a lot like Star Wars Battlefront in terms of graphics and the gameplay. Obviously that's not a good thing, but it might turn away a few seasoned Battlefield players. But the graphics are some of the best graphics I've actually ever seen in a game. I don't really think they can be tweaked or improved from now to the main game, but I don't really think they need tweaked and improved because they're just that good. It's some of the best graphics I've ever seen in any game, and maybe they could get a little bit of tweaking, maybe for the lighting or shadows and stuff like that, but I was playing in high graphics and the game was absolutely beautiful. There were a lot of mixed opinions on the map, but I generally enjoyed the Sinai Desert map. It seemed a very balanced map and allowed for all playstyles to really be used. Obviously the scout was probably the strongest class in the map because it was quite long distance in areas, but in the village and the ruins obviously the assault class would actually be particularly strong. One gripe I did have with the map though, there was a lot of empty areas on the map. A lot of the map was really desert, didn't really have much on it, and I know EA said this is the biggest Battlefield map to date, but it doesn't really matter if it's the biggest Battlefield map to date if there's nothing in the map and nothing to really do in the map. There are maybe 4 or 5 areas in Russian Conquest to really go for. You can't really do anything else in the rest of the map. The rest of the map is really just sand dunes. It's quite open. You're open to getting killed by snipers, by tanks and horses, so you can't really use as much of the map as EA probably wanted you to. I also believe the map relies a little bit too much on vehicles to get from one place to another. I don't know if that's because of the vehicle spawning or because of the map, but the distance between checkpoints seem quite large, and I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it just seemed to rely too much on vehicles this map, and with the vehicles obviously they've got a delay to the timer when they spawn. Obviously it's a little bit of a problem trying to get from one end of the map to the other and having to walk there. I've touched on this earlier, but I believe the bullet speed is a lot better as well. It seemed in previous Battlefield games you're not really shooting a gun because the bullet velocity just isn't as high as it really should be. In this game it seems a lot more realistic, like a sniper bullet gets to its target much quicker. There's a lot less bullet drop as well. I'm not really too keen on that. I believe there should be a little bit more bullet drop. The distances are obviously much shorter and you're using quite powerful rifles, so I don't know if there really should be more bullet drop or not, but I personally would enjoy more bullet drop for most guns. There were only 2 game modes to play in the Battlefield 1 beta, that was Rush and Conquest. Personally, I enjoyed Rush more. It seemed a lot quicker even though it's only limited to 24 people. But the Rush game mode, they seem to have improved it quite a bit by limiting the number of people. It seems to be less of a clusterfuck than Battlefield 4. The MCOM placements also seem to be a bit better, so there's less sort of channeling. But the Sinai Desert map just seems to be better suited for Rush because there's more flanking routes, you can get around the enemy more often, there's just more access to the MCOM point, and it's a little bit harder for the defenders to actually defend the MCOMs. I believe the player count on Rush should really be increased to 30 people though, because having 24 people, 12 people on each side isn't great. The reason why is because that allows for 2 squads and 2 people on their own in each team, and I believe there should be maybe 3 full squads on each team to allow for balance, and the 2 people on their own really get quite lonely in the match. They can't really spawn on many other players and they just can't be as powerful as a full squad can. And lastly, teamwork is extremely important in this game, which is really good to see in a Battlefield game. Obviously teamwork is important in every single Battlefield game. It's not like COD where you just run and gun on your own and try and get as many kills as possible. This game requires serious teamwork teamwork to do extremely well. I was sitting on TeamSpeak a lot of the time with other people playing. We often did a lot better than other squads because we were communicating, we were calling people out, we were saying where other people were, and we were telling others what to do and where to go. Teamwork is especially important when you're playing in a heavy tank, because instead of having 2 people in each tank, it's now 4 or 5, except for obviously the light tanks, which is 1 person each. Having a full tank filled up with your squad and them knowing what to do with their role in the tank is extremely important to do well in the heavy tank. Obviously the light tank is a little bit easier to use because you don't have to call out to people because you're basically on your own, and the light tank is extremely OP. I'll talk about that a little bit later. I believe this game encourages teamwork a little bit more than Battlefield 4 because obviously with more people in each tank, the main gunner actually can't do as much really as he could in Battlefield 4. In Battlefield 1 you really need to rely on the rest of your team in the tank to actually do well in a tank. So I've talked about the pros of the game. I'm now going to talk about the things I didn't really like about the game and the problems with the game as it currently sits. There are a few small glitches here and there, but there's not too many. Obviously it's a beta and they could probably be ironed out for the full game. I know that some people had crashing problems. I personally didn't have any crashing problems, and I know a lot of people could fix their game if they updated their drivers, which a lot of people did. It obviously fixed a lot of their problems, but having to update your drivers, I know a lot of people running triple screens. I think Craig ran triple screens and he couldn't actually run with the updated drivers because it would mess up his triple screen setup. Just little glitches like that. I'm sure they'll get fixed for the main game, but it was just a little annoying to see. I personally didn't have many glitches or problems with the game, and the performance of the game was actually pretty good all around. I'm also not sure if this was a hack or if it was a glitch or something, but in several games I saw like invisible players, or actually to be correct, I didn't see invisible players. It was just a floating gun going around. Hardly any people could kill them. Last night, I didn't record it, but last night I just saw a gun on the rocks. He was sniping and I aimed for it, I shot him, and I killed him. He was completely invisible. I couldn't see him except from his rifle floating in air. It's pretty stupid glitch or hack. I'm not sure if it's a hack or a glitch. I report the guy anyway because I've only seen it twice, and it might be a hack, it might be a glitch, but they shouldn't really have a problem with invisible players at this stage in the game. Now I know a lot of people have talked about this, but the vehicles are pretty unbalanced at the moment. The heavy tanks are alright, they seem to be pretty powerful just as they were in World War I, but the light tanks, they are very, very overpowered. As of now, they've got the same armor, they've got the same gun as the heavy tank, and they can only require 1 person to actually man, so you've got to rely less on teamwork in a light tank as you would in a heavy tank. They're also quicker than a heavy tank and they can get around enemy, plus they have a full rotating turret so they can shoot basically anywhere where they look. I believe having the light tank as maybe a 2-man tank would be a lot better, with a driver, with maybe a machine gun, and then the turret with manned by a different person. That would be a lot better because then it would have to rely on teamwork more. But as of now, the light tank is just way, way, way too overpowered, and it really shouldn't be as overpowered as it currently is. The good news though is that the light tank is actually going to get a nerf for the main game, which is very, very good to hear, because I think they're actually going to nerf their armor. I think they're going to take less hits to actually take down, which is very, very good to hear, because at the moment it's kind of stupid that they've got the same armor as a main heavy tank. I also found there was a few problems with the balancing of the classes. I know I talked about the classes being pretty good earlier on in this video, but the medics rarely do their job. They don't really revive people. I know this is probably not people's fault, because in previous Battlefield games an icon would pop up and it would show where dead players were, or players that need to be revived. In this game the icon only really pops up from maybe a meter or 2 meters away, which just really isn't enough. In previous games it maybe be 10 meters, 20 meters away, which was pretty good. Like the medic could see where people needs to be revived from and they could do their job. But in this game I was only revived maybe once or twice in 25 hours of playing the game, which is pretty dumb to see. So I think I've talked about everything. That has been my review for the Battlefield 1 beta. I think I'll probably do a review for the main game when it actually releases on October 21st. I'll probably do a review for that because I'll definitely be getting it. I definitely recommend getting this game. Probably don't pre-order it. Get it on the day of release, or if they do like a reduction in price or something, because at the moment it's very, very expensive. But anyway, thanks for watching and I will speak later.